Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and we're back with another Total War Warhammer video. Today's topic are the top 5 most wanted Empire legendary characters for the Total War Warhammer series, and we'll also speculate on possible mechanics for each respective character. So without further ado, let's begin. The Empire of Man is by far one of the largest nations in the Warhammer fantasy world, and within it is a massive host of different characters, lords and heroes. It is obviously no surprise that some characters are liked more than others, usually because of some bits of lore or specific rules they had on the tabletop, so we've looked online at various forums and have come up with this list of the top 5 most wanted Empire legendary characters for the Total War Warhammer series. For our 5th spot we have Hellbug, Grand Master of the Reichsguard and Reichsmarshal of the Imperial Forces. Claimed to be the finest swordsman the Empire has to offer and one of its greatest military leaders, Kurt commands great respect from his warriors, and together they are an unstoppable force as they charge into the enemies of the Empire. By the request of the reigning Emperor, Kurt has led his forces through vast reaches of the known Warhammer world, which has led him to become one of the most experienced generals alive at that point in the timeline. In regards to his implementation, because of his status as an army general, I believe that Hellbug should be a legendary lord. The only issue I see here is that he'll have to either start in Reichland given his titles, or quite far away in some sort of expedition in a very similar sense to Marcus Wolfheart. He's also supposed to be in possession of Großstädtler, which is one of the Runefangs. That's currently tied to the Solent province in Total War Warhammer, but I can imagine that that can be removed or changed if need be. For our 4th spot we have Elsef von Draken, the Dark Lady of Null, a master wielder of the Law of Death and considered to be one of the most powerful spellcasters to walk upon the Warhammer world. From her Dark Tower she works on her experiments, mostly undisturbed, and thankfully those experiments are never against the Empire. While she is considered largely independent, a fact that leads many to question her loyalties, she will ride into battle in defense of the Empire in its hour of need. There are many rumors surrounding this Dark Lady. Some claim she has mastery over life and death itself, that she may never truly die, and her existence is tied to the wind of death. So long as the winds of magic flow, she will return from the void of death itself, looking as youthful as ever. In regards to her implementation, it would make sense for her to start in the city of Null as a legendary lord choice. Given the fact that the elector count of the region was always considered to be too self-obsessed and rather incompetent, it could be possible that we'd never see the elector count of Wisseland actually created in-game, so it would make sense for Elsef to take the reins on it. This would not only provide the Empire with another powerful spellcaster lord, but also be able to do a lot of damage in close combat as soon as she's able to ride atop her Carmine Dragon. And yes, there might be a lot of dragons in the Total War Warhammer series, but, well, Elsef without the Carmine Dragon just feels like a no deal. For our 3rd spot we have Walton, the Chosen of Sigmar. Born into humble beginnings and quite content with it for that matter, Walton grew up as the son of a blacksmith and would have happily taken over his father's trade were it not for fate having other plans. When a beastmen horde set themselves upon Walton's home, slaughtering any who stood in their way, this young man, only 18 years old, stood in defiance, killing many with his bare hands as he fought his way to his father's workstation, picking up 2 heavy hammers, and rallied any who would fight alongside him to battle. Together under Walton's leadership they fought through the lines of beastmen, eventually repelling them as Walton beat the Brayherd's leader to death with his hammers. Soon enough, his deeds had travelled throughout the Empire, stories on how someone so young was able to face near impossible odds. Truly, someone like this must be blessed. And many were inclined to agree, including Luther Huss, the Prophet of Sigmar himself, who quickly declared Walton to be Sigmar reborn, seeing many similarities between them both. Of course, many see this as heresy, but who are we to argue with a prophet of Sigmar? Honestly, the character could be either a legendary lord or a legendary hero, but I don't want him starting off in a specific province. This is just my preference, but I'd like to see him as an event-based character. Say for example, the 3rd game of the series starts focusing around the end times. This could be a perfect way to implement Walton and maybe make it rather interesting. Instead of having access to Walton straight from the start, it could be that an event could trigger and set off a series of quests for you to get access to him. And once you recruit Walton, you could probably get a series of quests straight after too, that would upgrade him not only by stats but also visually. As you can see on screen, there's 3 different Walton models, so it'd be cool if you could start off with the first, move on to the armored horse one, and then finally upgrade him to the proper big end times model that we all know. I know it's probably asking for a lot for visual changes, especially for 3 different models for one character, but it might be kinda cool. For our 2nd spot we have Marius Leitdorf, the Mad Count of Averland. Marius is a rather interesting character, famously known for his eccentricities such as having his horse as one of his most trusted advisors, bouts of rage, and ever-changing state of mind. Marius is known for having declared war on physical forests, this being the trees themselves over an actual existing enemy, and claiming the existence of a race of half men, half fish. Preposterous, I know. Despite his rather curious nature, he is widely popular with women, and many other nobles think twice before allowing the Mad Count into their courts. Marius is a staunch believer that the Empire is stronger united, and saw greatness in the young Karl Franz when the seat of Emperor was left vacant. Being one of the first to vote for Franz into power, Franz himself sees Marius as a good friend and an incredible warrior despite his many oddities. In truth, a large majority of the Empire sees the Mad Count as an expert swordsman and brilliant tactician, barring the halflings of course, who see Marius as a tyrant due to his distrust of them and of course several war crimes. There are also some who have a serious dislike for the Count of Averland, and with good reason of course. The best example of this would be Hellbug, who Marius describes as having a poor mustache, even worse dental hygiene, and the sense of humour of a river troll. Adding further insult to injury, his horse is named in honour, if you can call it that, after Hellborg himself, Daisy Kurt von Hellboring II. Stay classy, Marius. Marius has always been a personal favourite of mine, and I really hope he eventually gets implemented into the Total War Warhammer series. His state of mind mechanic could be very similar to how Luther Harkin has his, but also expand upon that further, say for example, randomly spawning armies across the map which only Marius's faction can see. And should the halflings ever be implemented, preferably around the same time as Marius, there could be a quest battle of some sorts just against each other in an effort to show how Marius dislikes the halflings and vice versa. Before we move on to our first spot, I want to go over some honourable mentions. Obviously there is Luther Huss, the Prophet of Sigmar, one so devoted that even other fellow warrior priests are terrified of his presence. The character is very well known and a big fan favourite, but I don't think he's going to get implemented in the Total War Warhammer series, mainly because the Nameless has been mentioned quite often in Total War Warhammer 2. The Nameless himself uses the body of Luther Huss as his own personal shell, and it just seems like we're very likely to get the Nameless as a playable character given his recent mentions, but there could be an interesting way of implementing both. Say for example, the Nameless already controls Luther Huss, and if you can defeat them personally with an Empire army, you might be able to free Luther from the Nameless's grasp. Yes, essentially this is killing off a legendary lord, but you'd be getting a legendary hero from it. This is just an idea for a mechanic, and it just seems like it could be interesting. And lastly, in regards to honourable mentions, we have Ludwig Swarshelm, the Emperor's champion and personal bodyguard. Yeah, this character's awesome, a lot of people like him, he's got probably one of the coolest beards ever. But this character's very well known for carrying a standard into battle, and since we didn't really get that type of thing with Repans, it just feels like he shouldn't really be implemented. Thankfully we have modders which have been able to add in the banners to Repans, and it could be possible for Ludwig should he ever get implemented, but you know, if a character's famous for carrying a banner into battle, I think he should always be carrying that banner into battle. But now for the first spot on this list, we have Boris Todbringer, the Elector Count of Middenland, the only other man the greater lords of the Empire found as a possible suitable choice to become Emperor. Having lost to Karl Franz by a small margin, a great warrior and a brilliant tactician, Boris is widely respected throughout the Empire, seeing the man's old age as a sign of someone who has lived through much. Boris is a devoted and proud follower of Ulrich, and wishes for the greater empire to see that only by Ulrich's blessing may they brave the horrors from the north. Todbringer was always popular within the fans of the Warhammer Fantasy series, but what really made him jump into stardom with the Total War Warhammer fans was mostly thanks to the Yogscast and their Toddy sketch, which was massively popular. While indeed Boris is currently playable in the Total War Warhammer series, he is available at a reduced level than any other legendary character, playable in multiplayer, custom battles, and only playable in the campaign if you confederate with his faction. So because of this, many have called for Boris to be upgraded to a fully playable legendary lord, and it has been confirmed that Boris will get his day in the sun someday soon. But those were our top 5 picks and some honourable mentions for the most wanted legendary characters for the Empire in the Total War Warhammer series. What do you guys think? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below and let's start a bit of a discussion. Originally I was going to do a top 5 most wanted elector counts video, but I feel like maybe some other characters are much more deserving of a playable lord or hero slot than maybe just some generic elector count that barely had any lore. I mean, I hope that eventually we just get everything, but I think that's me just being greedy more than anything else. Before we end this video, I just want to ask your opinion on something. So I'm looking at implementing some more stuff onto the channel, as you guys may know. So I'm thinking of implementing some other Warhammer base games onto the channel, maybe some reviews, let's plays, and guides. I don't know, something around that. I want to keep the channel very Warhammer centric, and I don't really want to do some historical games and stuff like that, unless the game is obviously very good, of course. I'm actually really enjoying Total War 3 Kingdoms, and the only reason I haven't implemented it onto the channel is because it's kind of like my leisure game. I'm just really enjoying playing at my own time, and it just doesn't feel like work, if that makes any sense. So I was thinking of maybe adding in Blood Bowl, more time, maybe even some 40k games onto the channel. Let me know what you guys think and if you have any suggestions for games. But with that, my friends, we've come to the end of our video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, might I suggest giving the video a like, or even subscribing to the channel, as it really does help us out. In the description section below are various different links to social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram and Discord, where you can get in contact with the Great Book team. Also in the description section below is an affiliate link with Element Games, where you could buy loads of hobby-based products, not just Warhammer, for 10 to 25% off. Making a purchase using our special link and also using our special code, both of which are in the description below, supports the channel at no extra cost to you, which we think is rather cool. A big thank you to our patrons. Your support means the world to us. Honestly, it's amazing that people want to help a small channel like us grow and get to a higher level of content. A special thank you to our patrons Gibraltar LUSC and Bertsche for subscribing to us at our Fane level. Honestly, you guys are super cool. And a big thank you to our patron Edward Huell for subscribing to us at our King level. Mate, you're super awesome. But with that, my friends, thank you so much for watching once again, and we shall see you all again very, very soon. Have a good day.